No one knew anything about this. This is a regulation that has been thrown in, I think, at the last minute. And now what he's doing in this case is creating even more bureaucracy. Is each employer going to have to do an interview with each of the of his or her employees? It sort of goes back to the Verasa days where you had 5-year-olds being interviewed as to what their competence in French or English was. I mean, it's ludicrous. You imagine for an employer to have to bring in each employee and ask them what their capacity in French is.
That's Andrew Cadell from the Task Force on Linguistic Policy reacting to this provision in Bill 96 that we didn't really know about, although, Tom Mulcair says it's always been in there, just no one noticed it, I guess.
It was in teeny tiny print.
Until today, it goes into effect Thursday, June 1st. This is the next step in Bill 96. And as he said, Andrew Cadell said, it will require businesses, and not just businesses of 25 to 49 employees, businesses, small businesses with as few as 5 employees, to basically, again, tell the government what proportion of their employees are not capable of communicating in French. And then that list, by the way, will be publicly and freely available, so anyone can go see it. And of course, if they choose, go ahead and harass that business for no other reason. No one knows why this is happening, and certainly no one was expecting this to happen, although perhaps if you read every single part of Bill 96, you would have known this was coming. EVA LUDVIG is president of the Quebec Community Groups Network. She's on the line right now. Let me first of all, Eva, get your reaction to this particular provision in Bill 96 that is coming into effect and your reaction to it.
Well, when Bill 96 was first introduced, we said then it's a draconian bill. It had over 200 articles. And we're just beginning to see now the impact of these many regulations and rules that we didn't even realize would be happening. And of course, it has a very serious impact, not just on an English-speaking community, but I think in all of Quebec society, we are living through a serious labor shortage. The employers already have a lot of difficulty. And as you said, small businesses, this will be an extra burden on them. Many of them will feel obligated to hire a lawyer to help them with this because they are not sure. An extra cost, extra red tape. And it's certainly not anything that any business owner would want or need at this point in time.
Mm-hmm. Had you been previously aware of this? Did you know this was going into effect this Thursday?
Not until we read about it this morning, no. As I said, it's huge. There's a lot, and the regulations are just developed now. Regulations really define how the law is implemented. And this is when really the rubber hits the road. This is when you know what the real impact will be. And we just also found out about it now.
So I was going to ask you, so what do? We found this out. Not that there's anything that can be done necessarily. People are saying, well, maybe it's time for small businesses to simply stand up and say no, because the one thing we also don't know is what happens when you don't comply with this.
That's a very good question, and nobody knows the answer at this point.
Now, we do know that and speaking with Andrew Cadell earlier today, the Task Force on Linguistic Policy will be launching a lawsuit. They're going to launch that on Wednesday. They're hosting a webinar on Thursday at 7:30. So, people who want to know more can find out that at thetaskforce.ca. But I think, Jimmy, I want to bring you in on this and ask you the same question. Jimmy Zoubris, who is a special advisor to the mayor, but also a small business owner. Jimmy, were you at all aware of this going into effect as of this Thursday?
Well, I'll give you a plug here. I heard it on CJD this morning. First time I heard that, and then I had an exchange with Aaron, who asked me about it, and I've been all day trying to get information on this. And between you and me, I've got a couple of people scrambling with the minister's office trying to get me more information because, as Eva said, the only thing I found is online. If you go to the Registre des Entreprises, where everybody's company is registered, there's about a couple of paragraphs on it, but nothing more than what you've said. And at the same time, there was a Gazette article this morning too, which says again even less than even what's on the registrar's office. So no, this is a complete surprise. Nobody has. First time I've heard about this today.
So I'm going to ask you, Jimmy, as you understand it now from what you've read, because again, we're sort of all dealing with this for the first time today. What does it mean you will have to do as a small business owner?
Well, look, if you have 5 employees or more, you have to basically declare how many employees can speak French or don't speak French. Glass half full, half empty. So, but at the same time, if you look on there, it says, well, the people to perform their competence, what they're doing. So, for example, if a person is working just retail in the front and doesn't need to write in French, like a lot of us, being before Bill 101, my French writing, it's gotten better over the years, but you can sort of say, all right, as long as you're able to communicate in French, you're fine. But my accountant, who, let's say, just fills out forms all day, just to give an example, who doesn't need to speak to the public or whatever, well, your French is not that good, but you're able to fill out the forms. Well, your French is good enough. Click, whatever. It's very unclear. And I think you mentioned it before too. All you have to do is when you do your annual declaration for new companies, will be right away. You'll have to report this every year, but there's no fine. There's no. What if you what if you lie? What if you how?
Sure.
Who's going to manage this? It's just unclear. It's nothing difficult. Most companies that are small, 5, 6, 7, 10 people, can probably do this in 30 seconds. But why?
Yeah, but then the question is, in terms of proficiency in French, Jimmy, not just who can speak French and who can't, but do they speak French well enough that someone walking into that store, for example, in your case, being served in French, and that person who, is asking for the service that says, yeah, I got served in French, but I wasn't very good and I'm filing a complaint anyway. It just seems like it's there for no reason to potentially make things worse. And never mind, and this was pointed out last week when we talked about something else, you have competitors and they decide to give you a hard time for no other reason than they want to give you a hard time. They can use this again as something against you.
Oh, without a doubt. If you... I've seen in the past where people, post English signs, and some people nowadays with social media will shame them on it. But, the other thing that's in Bill 96 is that you can no longer ask for a person to speak a language other than French, right? So nowadays with all the online stuff, if you're dealing with, 80% of your business in the U.S., you can no longer, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, I'm not an expert on this law, but from what I saw, I can't post and say, well, I need you to speak English because 80% of my calls are coming in from the United States, for example. So this is where it's really, really unclear with this law. And it's like a last minute thing, but it just doesn't sort of surprise me because I think you alluded to it, or Natasha did before. When Bill 96 was passed and you asked that question, nobody brought this up. And somebody should have seen this. I guess we all have to take a little bit of responsibility, but I think we were all focused on the shiny thing in the room, about CJIP enrollments and other stuff. But this little stuff here, why? If I'm looking at it and I'm like, why is this necessary? But we'll comply because we have no choice. That's the law, but we really got questions about this.
Let's bring Eva back in on this again, president of the QCGN. I'm wondering, last time with Bill 96, your group was very outspoken, took action to try and, rally people against it. What action do you plan to take this time around, Eva?
Well, first of all, we have to know more. We have to understand. And we've asked for a meeting with both the minister responsible for relations with our with English-speaking community and with the minister responsible for French. And so far, we have not been successful. We are hoping to meet with them and to point out to them the impact this is having not only on the English-speaking community, but throughout. It's a disincentive, actions like this, disincentive for small businesses to set up, which come to Quebec. And just more red tape, just more bureaucracy, and creating a lot of unnecessary confusion.
Indeed.